Hi everyone, this is 5th grade Elevate. Today we will be adding fractions and mixed numbers with liked fractions, okay? So when adding mixed numbers, we will join the parts. There are just more parts to join. Here are our visual models. Today, we won't necessarily be working with visual models. However, during your introduction, it will be nice for you to show for students what the visual model will look like to kind of anchor them in their conceptual understanding for the lesson today, right? So 1 3/4 plus 1 2/4, right? One means a whole. So I have a whole shaded, and then I have an additional 3/4 shaded. And then I'm adding to that another whole and 2/4. Now, if I were to piece that together, I would do 4/4 plus 3/4 plus 4/4 plus 2/4. For the purposes of this problem, because the unit is fourths, one whole would be 4 out of 4, right? So we've translated one whole into 4 out of 4. If the unit was sixths, then it would be 6/6. If the unit was sevenths, then the whole would be 7/7, so on and so forth, right? So adding up all the fourths together, and we know that when we add up fractions with the same denominator, our denominator in our answer stays the same. So we're not touching that denominator. It's always going to be fourths. What we do add, however, are our numerators. So we end up with 13/4. This lesson requires students to be able to simplify. And because students have already done a lesson like this in the past, in past like intervention lessons, it is going to be important that you push them to simplify. They're going to know how to add mixed numbers with like denominators. That's easy. But we want to make sure that we push them a little bit further with the simplification. So, in the following examples that you're going to see throughout this internalization or this exemplar, you're going to see that the number bond has been used, right? So 13/4, we know that 4/4 give us one whole, right? So we're going to pull out how many fourths we can until we have some left, right? So I'm trying to get to 13. Well, I know that 4 plus 4 plus 4 fourths, that's 1, 1, and 1, give me 12, and then I have an additional 1 to give me 13, right? So how many holes do I have? I have 1 hole, 2 holes, 3 holes, and then 1/4 left over. Some students will use the standard algorithm. And so some students will get 13/4 and then they'll use the standard algorithm. The divisor is your denominator. Your quotient is your whole, and then your remainder is the numerator of that fraction. Okay. The other way that you can solve this, which I would encourage you to do to make this lesson as simple as possible for kids, is to first add the whole numbers, then add the fractions together. So I will show you up here. So if I'm first adding the whole numbers, I have 1 and 1, which gives me 2 wholes. And then I'm going to add my fractions. 3/4 plus 2/4. Remember, the denominator will stay the same. So 3 plus 2 is 5/4. So now students are only having to figure out, okay, well, how do I break up 5/4? So even if they're going to do long division, or they're going to do the number bond, 5 is a much simpler or a much smaller number to work with and simplify than 13 is. So 5/4 is equal to 1 and 1/4. So we have 2 wholes plus 1 and 1/4, which is going to give us 3 and 1/4. Okay, So I would not spend too much time on the introduction. Again, our goal is to simplify it today. So I wouldn't spend too much time on this page. I just explained it so you understand it. Um, However, you are going to spend 3 minutes modeling these two questions, right? So 1 3/4 plus 2 1/4. Again, add up those whole numbers. 1 plus 2 is 3. And then 3 and 1 is 4/4. We know that 4/4 is just one whole. So 3 plus 1 gives us 4. And then modeling question 2, add up those wholes. 2 plus 2 is 4. And then 1/3. So we're going to add 4 plus 1/3, which just gives us 4 and 1/3. From there, 10 minutes partner practice, volume level 1, and then 5 minutes independent practice for their exit ticket. We are trying to see, do they get the correct final answer? There are 4 questions, 4 points. And then also for the purpose of this exit ticket, please do not go over not the exit ticket, the fluency. Please do not go over every single one of these questions. You can choose a column for kids to do within the 5 minutes. Students are going to have to get these fractions to have the same denominator, okay? So some of these are easy, 9/10 minus 1/10, because they have the same denominator. 5/6 minus 2/6, easy because they have the same denominator. However, a lot of these do not have the same denominator, so students are going to have to do the work to convert one of the fractions so that both of them have the same denominator. So they're finding equivalent fractions to then be able to add or subtract, right? So for this example, 5/6 minus 1/2, students will have to do the math and multiply 1/2 times 3/3 to be able to do 5/6 minus 3/6 to then get 2/6, and then it requires them to simplify, right? So then they'll have to go ahead and then divide by 2, and that will give them 1/3. So what I mean to say is in 5 minutes, kids may not get through many questions, and so you may want to point out for students which ones to prioritize.